Morning, everyone. I was involved in a discussion today, and a man was complaining about lack of passion and intimacy in his relationship. We don't ever hear about that problem, do we?
Never.
And I asked him, is he the type of guy who gets to have a passionate, intimate, deeply connected relationship? And I triggered a nice guy in the comments. He says we shouldn't have to earn intimacy, and that when you're in a monogamous relationship, there's obligations. So he was saying sex is an obligation. Have you ever found obligation or pity sex to be worthwhile or to feel good?
Not particularly satisfying, and I can't imagine that it's much of a
Are you done yet?
Either.
No. And the guy obviously missed the point. I said, I'm not talking about earning intimacy. I'm talking about being the kind of man that makes her want to be with you, that earns, respect, and he cultivates passion and intimacy and connection, which leads to a fun sex life. And we see this with nice guys a lot. And it's funny. He made it sound like he was speaking truth. You shouldn't have to earn intimacy. There's obligations. Yet, what's one of the biggest topics we deal with men that are married or in long-term relationships?
Intimacy.
Yeah, or lack thereof. Yeah,
or lack thereof, which I believe most of the time is a definition of terms problem. Because
yes,
intimacy is having lunch with a friend. Intimacy is spending time with a child. Intimacy is being there with a friend when they're hurt by something or they have a problem. Intimacy is not exclusively the definition of sex.
But many men, unfortunately, define intimacy as sex. They define sex then also as penis and vagina, not understanding that's just one small component of it.
I tell you, the bigger issue is the misunderstanding that a woman needs to feel connected to the man before she feels like she wants to be open and vulnerable enough to be intimate, to be sexy time with him. And he wants to have sexy time with her so that he can feel connected to her, so that he can have that intimacy that he's looking for. So again, we have a definition of terms problem. And obligation sex is not going to solve that.
In fact, it will make her despise you, respect you less. It will make you feel shame because it's just not right.
Yeah. Now look, if you have a partner who is not interested in working together with you in the relationship, being productive together, spending time together, going out, laughing together, having a good time, then that's definitely a different conversation that needs to be had. But asking her to disown herself, to actually go against how she wants to live her life, how she wants to be in control of her body, is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for resentment. It's a recipe for divorce.
Well, and think of intimacy and sex as the garden. I'm going to use the garden analogy. And you want to have an amazing sex life, and the end result of the garden are these delicious tomatoes, okay? If you plant the tomatoes and do nothing, you don't weed, you don't water, well, I bought the tomatoes, I got married, we should be having sex. Oh, I used to take you on dates, I used to connect with you, I used to do a lot of things. If you think you just plant the tomato plants and do nothing, you're going to have this bountiful harvest in August, you're wrong. Yeah. And your intimacy, your connection has to be cultivated. It has to be tended to. And you want to do that from a full and abundant heart. It's different. It's not something you have to do. It's something you get to do, to lead the romance department. Yeah. to lead her.
And look, we're not trying to shame any man. I know for myself, I did not understand these things either. This is something that we have to grow into. We grow through all of these moments, these seasons of life, right? These conversations. This is how we learn and we grow. A lot of times what happens is the man really gets to the point where he is wanting sex to feel good about himself. He wants sex so that he can feel connected to her, because he feels disconnected from her in a variety of different ways. The problem with that is that you can never fill that cup enough. She can never fill that cup enough, which means there's no amount of obligation sex in the world that will actually make him feel good about himself or make him feel good about his relationship if he is coming at it from a place of need.
And that's why in mentoring men, we don't focus on, there's no techniques, there's no tricks on how to get her to have more sex with you. It's an inside game. And we focus on healing the man, helping him grow. And it's funny. The guys that turn their relationship around, none of them complain about lack of sex anymore. In fact, we had on our weekly coaching call yesterday a man say, sex life is great. This is a man who was facing divorce 2 years ago. And so it is an inside game, brother. So if you don't have the romantic, intimate relationship that you want, you have to work on yourself, for yourself, and level up, and then address those issues. But most men go about it the wrong way. And sex is not something you get. The gift of your sexuality is something you give from an abundant and overflowing heart. So if you're looking to get, it has a different energy to a woman, and it's not an attractive one. All right, brother, there's going to be links below. Feel free to join us, Mentoring Men. There's some free courses if you've got a failing marriage or a sexless marriage, and we'll see you soon.